All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Coffee Q&A. I'm Jay, your host. We're here Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern time, talking about coffee and hopefully providing answers for any kind of questions you might. So if you have questions about coffee, feel free to drop them in the comments over here, or if you're watching the replay, drop them in the comments down below. So how's it going? Hope your weekend was good. It's the 9th of December, Friday morning. And our question today comes from one of the forums that I read. And the gentleman asked, does anyone have a simple AeroPress recipe for camping that doesn't require weighing coffee or water? Well, I'm glad you came to this place because I'm the guy with the right answer for you. And that answer is yes, absolutely. What's up, Naomi? Dylan, how are you guys doing today? Good to see you. How was your weekend? Hope it was good. So one of the things that I think that, and I'm okay, I'm going to hypothesize on this because I don't necessarily get to see a lot of this, but I'm going to hypothesize that if you out there in the world of coffee YouTube and coffee discussions, that a lot of people are out there speaking with superlatives and giving you prognostications about what must be done and everything must be done this way. And I know a lot of my coffee compatriots in the business that will do things like they'll go out and wherever they go in the world, they're bringing their little kits and they're doing all this meticulous measuring. And I just think that's ludicrous. Like if I'm traveling somewhere, I don't necessarily have the time for that kind of craziness, right? If I'm home, maybe. But if I'm away, unlikely, right? So I think that this is a great question because we want to look at how do we figure out what is a good way to go to make your AeroPress while camping. And camping, of course, has its issues. You've got to be out in the open. You've got, especially if you're doing it this time of year in the wintertime, which is my favorite time of camping, there's a lot of issues you have to control, especially temperature of the environment. Marco, good morning to you, man. How are you doing? And things like that. So what I would suggest to you is to put together a little kit for camping. And I have my little camp kit here. Doesn't have to be this, of course. It can be whatever you want it to be. Let's have a look inside. This is, of course, a Festool Sustainer. You guys that watch the show know that have been all about that the last few months. But inside here, I put together some selections of things that I think are important, some things that you might want to consider for your camping setup. First things first, this Alpine Start. This is a freeze-dried coffee that is a Colombian coffee. Then look at it says here. It says here, medium roast instant coffee, high altitude Colombian Arabica, 100%. It is dairy-free, soy-free. It is also delicious-free. So do not buy that. Forget that. Get rid of it. Don't let me have taken the hit of the cost of buying that to let you know that you probably do not want to have that unless you want to carry along sugar and cream and other things to adulterate that coffee to make it a little bit more palatable. I don't know if I made a video about it and I don't know if I released it yet, but basically it's pretty rough. I thought it'd be great. I thought it'd be good. Like I thought these people would be like focused on making nice quality coffee. No. So what you want to also have is to carry water with you. Mom, good morning to you. So you can use this 16-ounce Nalgene bottle. This is from REI, right? Or if this time of year, you might want to carry a 32-ounce. And if you're traveling this time of year in the cold, I like to get something like this. I've had this for many years. This is a North Face insulated Nalgene pocket for your Nalgene, right? So the Nalgene goes in here. And what this does, it's not really about insulating it to keep it cool. It's about insulating it to help prevent it from freezing, right? Like if you're out in the cold weather and you're carrying water, and it freezes, well, you're kind of hosed, right? That's a big problem. So whenever you're doing winter camping, we would always bring some water in these so that we would at least have something to hydrate with, especially in the bitter cold. I mean, I think sleeping out in the tent in a big lofty bag in the dead of winter is a fabulous, especially when it's snowing. I love it. Just loved it. I haven't done it in a long time, but I do love it. So what else do we have in here? We've got a little camp mug. That's always nice to have. This is an insulated one from REI. This is all part. These two are part of their Outside with Pride. I believe it was part of their whole Pride thing this year, which I was like, oh, that's cool. And I don't go to REI all the time, even though I'm a member, but they had these on sale. So I was like, all right, let me have those. Those are kind of nice. And I wanted to use those in a video. Now, we've got the AeroPress, like the gentleman asked. We got the AeroPress here. This is the AeroPress Clear, the regular size AeroPress Clear. And of course, it comes with the stirrer. It comes with the spoon, which is actually, spoons of the AeroPress is something that I don't really care about. But today, it's going to be a little more integral to what we're going to be doing. Of course, filters. And if you're in the situation that you're going to be camping, it's always good to have a little camp stove with gas. And I like this little tiny Pocket Rocket 2 from MSR, right? It's just kind of small there. It fits on a butane canister like this. You just kind of screw it on, open the wings, and it works awesomely. It's awesome. It's awesome. But I think today one of the key factors that we're going to need is to have a plastic bag. This is one of my favorite accessories for coffee making whenever I leave the house or leave the shop, right? Let me get this out of the way. So what we're going to do today is, because we've got this parameter of going camping. Camping, I think it's okay to have some compromises, right? Because, you know, why go through all that? And actually, here's something. So there's compromising in camping and there's not compromising in camping. What I mean by that is that, you know, when we were younger, we had the idea of like, we're mountaineers and we're going to like prepare, like, we're going to get the backpackers food, the freeze-dried stuff. We're going to boil it. We're going to do all this stuff. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. My cousins, he was like, one of the trips we did, I think, well, I didn't go on this, and he went with some of the other guys, but he was like, man, I went to Taco Bell before we went. Because, you know, typically you do overnight camping. You're not doing backpacking into the wilderness. Like, we've done that. That's just misery. But when you do like backpack or truck car camping, like you drive to a campsite, right? And then you unpack and you set up your tents and there's picnic tables, there's fire pits, you know, everything's it's not so primitive, right? So my cousin, one time he was on a trip, he's like, yeah, I went to Taco Bell and I bought a whole box of taco. And that's what he had. He was like, I loved it. It was so amazing. And everyone was jealous, right? And I was like, oh, that's awesome, man. I need to do things like that. Anton says, my solution to get the best coffee is just to not go. That's always a good solution. Like, there's many years where I thought that roughing it would be the Holiday Inn. So let's have a look here. What we're going to do, we're going to take our AeroPress. So the AeroPress is key, because this is what the gentleman that asked the question wants to know: how to make AeroPress, simple recipe for camping. And we're going to go through that. Now, the first thing I think for us to understand is this spoon. Now, for the most part, whenever I get these spoons of the AeroPress, I don't know what to do, because we're weighing everything. What do we care about this silly spoon? But today, we want to know how much this spoon will hold, because we're going to use this as our in-field measuring device to determine how much coffee we're going to need. Now, the typical AeroPress recipe that I use for Spro and that I use to win the AeroPress championship is 36 grams of finely ground coffee. And then, so we need to figure out how much coffee can we get per scoop. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the fellow Ode, and let's take some coffee. We're going to take some coffee in general. Where's some coffee? Here we go. We got some of this coffee. This is the coffee from Finca El Camilo, from the Rojas Granados family. We've talked about this coffee before. Anton says, I would rather go camping. Oh my. My. And what are you planning on camping, dear friend? Such a Monday morning. We're already starting. All right. So here we are now. This is our AeroPress. This is our fellow Ode Gen 2. We're going to go a little bit finer. And we're not going to necessarily worry so much about how much. We're not going to weigh it out. We're just going to pour some coffee in here and grind away. Can you see that? Okay, good. Nothing better than German humor. It's the Germans again. All right, excellent. So we've got our coffee. It's ground. Whoops. Now, what we want to know here is how much coffee will this spoon hold? Oh, I need to click that out. so how much will it hold? There's some coffee there. Oh, we got a lot. There's a lot in there. Look at that. I ground a lot. That's probably too much. Okay, we're going to turn it on. Oh, now you're going to tell me they're out of power. I forgot about that. All right, hopefully you will last until we're done today, and then I will charge you. Okay, so here we are. And we zeroed it out. We're going to take one big scoop. We're just going to fill like that. Now you notice here, it's a little bit light, right? It's a little bit light. It's a little bit uneven. It's all a little bit mounded. I'm not going to even bother to do any of that leveling stuff because when you're out camping, maybe it's cold and you're like, I just need to scoop it out. So I'm going to scoop it out and just put it in here. There's one, 12.3 grams. What number did I grind? I ground on number 4, Naomi, number 4. So 12.3 grams. Because we want to finer grind for the AeroPress. So at 12.3 grams, okay, good. So what we want is, we're looking, let's say if we follow the recipe that I like to use, it's 36 grams. So with this, we're going to save roughly 3 scoops. So now we're going to take our little baggie here. We're going to put the coffee in the bag, right? In our Ziploc bag. And I like Ziploc bags because, it's compact, it's easy to carry, it's lightweight. And if you need to, you can throw it away, but don't throw it away in the woods. That's not what good camping etiquette's about. I'm not promoting any of that kind of thing. I grew up in the Smokey the Bear era. Now, this is probably going to be somewhat more or less good for one espresso, but one shot. So you can fill the entire amount that you want. Like fill it all the way up if you like, right? As much as you need, as much as you think you're going to need to carry. But now we have a reference point, about 12 grams. So we're going to look to do 3, and we're not going to measure anymore. Forget the measuring. We're not going to calculate that because that would be silly. So I've got some water. I'm going to boil it here on the kettle. So now you're in the woods. Whoops. And there we go. Now you're in the woods. I even wore my Patagonia fleece because this is what I would wear in the scene. And so we're going to take our AeroPress. We're going to be outside. We're heating our water. I'm going to pull it so that you can see the numbers are here. We're going to pull it up here just to about there. Again, we're not being so precise, right? We're not being so precise. The precision comes later. The precision actually comes more in the cup, right? This cup, this mug, this REI, Pride Outside mug is what, 12 ounces. Again, we're controlling our volume with the pouring vessel in this case, because we're designing this recipe so you can have 12 ounces of coffee. You can change the ratio if you want. If you think 36 is way too much, you want to go to 24, that's fine. That's fine. Go. Again, coffee's pleasurable hedonism. You just want to do what you want to do, right? And we're okay with that here. This is a thermal insulated mug, so that's going to be a little bit helpful to keep it warm. Like if you get these like enamel cups that you use for camping, which are cool, right? You're cool. You're like all camping. You're all like Grizzly Adams going out there and drinking with this. The problem with these is that because it's just enameled steel, you're holding it here. Your fingers are pushing up against the steel here. They're getting burned. You're burning your lips. You're burning everything on you. It's nostalgic. Like you look cool. Like you're awesome out there. Like you're like, I'm an outdoorsman. But you're also burning your hands, and that's not fun. That's never fun. So we've got our water full boil. I'm gonna hold that off. Now we're gonna take our AeroPress. Right, we got the AeroPress, there we go. And we're going to get our paper filter. Again, I'm still irritated with these guys for giving us 25 paper filters nowadays for them and costing us more. This is the problem when you have a venture capitalist taking over. Now we're going to take our coffee bag. Like I said, we thought, so 12 ounces or 12 grams. We're going to do three of these, more or less. So just shake it out a little bit to have 1. Two. And 3. Now, how much is that? How much did we actually dispense? Let's have a look. Let's see if we can figure this out. We're going to turn this on. This is 244.9 grams. So I'm going to jot that down here, 244.9. And once we're finished, we're going to reweigh this setup to see how much coffee we actually put in there. But we're not going to worry about that for now. So we've still got some coffee left over, which is fine. Just sip it back up, toss it into your bag. Life is good. Now we've got our water. Now, AeroPress does give you a stir, right? But when you're traveling, like this is the option. Like when you're traveling or camping, weight is always an option, an issue, right? So like this, do you carry both when this could suffice? So today we're not going to use this. I'm going to say that it's too heavy for your uses. Leave that at home. Of course, if you're car camping, bring everything you want, no problem. Now we're just going to take the water. We're going to fill it up to about here. Right? We don't want to go too high. We really could go right up to the base. But then depending on your coffee, if it's very fresh, it could like bloom and come over, and then it gets into the grooves here where the locks are, and it makes it very difficult to lock in. So don't do that. Don't do that. We're just gonna go there. Now we're coming in with the water, and we're just gonna be very simple. We're gonna do this in normally we do 45 seconds of stirring. So we're gonna put the water in like so. It's kind of filling in. Okay, we're going to say that's about 10 seconds. And we're just going to use the bottom or the stem of the spoon here to stir. Let's say 25 seconds have passed. We're just guessing. We're just kind of going with it. And why are we doing such short brew times? Because, this is a pressurized brew. Now, look at that. We've got a lot of this crema happening here. I think maybe it's a little bit too fine. That could be. All right, so let's just say we're almost at 45 seconds. We'll just put that on there. We can let it sit for a moment. Like you just kind of feel it, like let the force speak to you about when it's ready to go. Let's say that's done. Take the cup, put it over, flip. And now we will press. Just light, consistent pressure. You see all these like cats out there. They're like mashing down. They're like putting all their muscles into it, leaning with their bodies. I was like, "What are you doing, man? You're gonna have an aneurysm or something, or spring a hernia, or I don't know what you're gonna do." But it looks kind of scary. Okay. See, easy. I didn't have to do so. Now, one thing, when you pull it off right away, make sure you tilt it a little bit this way so that any of the coffee that's still on the screen will kind of slough down this way. Otherwise, you pull it off, you turn over, and you do something, and you get it all over the place, which is really quite annoying. Okay, so let's get rid of this. We're going to take the cap off. We're going to punch it out, and that gives us a relatively clean AeroPress. We're going to put this back on the scale and see where are we. 212.6, 212.6, 212.6, which is, darn it, 244.9, 212.6, 323. Oh, so my calculations say 32.3 grams of coffee were put into this brew. So we're just 3.7 grams. Is that right? Yeah, 36. Yeah, something like that. Whatever. We're just a few grams short of the ideal, right? The recipe. So not a big deal. Now we've got our cup here. As you can see, it's not full, it's a very concentrated. You could drink this. Be probably amazing. But we're going to, like I said, we ratio this for a 12-ounce serving. So we're just going to add water to it, bring it to our 12 ounces. George is with us. What's going on, George? Thanks for this demo. It's truly useful. Oh, good. When I'm out there with my High West enameled mug, I'm typically wearing gloves, so no, that's true. I will cop to that if you're outside in the wintertime. Okay, so here is our elixir, looking very black. Actually looking rather forbidding. Let's see how it tastes. Mother of God, it's hot. So be careful. If we were outside in the weather, maybe not a big deal because, you know, it wouldn't be a big deal because we'd be out there in the weather. And now that I see that it's raining outside the window, I realize that, oh, I have left some plywood outside from yesterday's work. I need to go pull that in. We're done. All right. So how is it? It's good. It's good. It's good. It's fine. Like this is nice. I mean, the coffee itself, from the Tabordas family, very nice quality coffee. It's a 60-hour anaerobic. Is that right? I can't remember this. Yeah. So 60-hour anaerobic wash coffee, Arabica Castillo Rosario and Senicafe Uno. So a nice quality coffee. We've had this before. We talked about this before the show. And as long as so here's the thing. For me, it's like, as long as you're buying nice coffee or coffee that you enjoy, this is all you need to do. You don't need to do all the measuring. We just did the measuring here just to kind of see how far off we are from the ideal, right? And I don't think we're very far off from the ideal. And George says it would cool down much. Oh yeah, definitely in that enamel cup. Absolutely, it would be. It flies. Even my other thermals, and just even here in the last week when we're out working in the garage, it's like they cool down quite quickly. So just still pretty hot. Still pretty hot. We're gonna put the lid on. But if, you know, when you're out in the woods, camping in the winter, this is what you need. So there it is. Just a simple AeroPress recipe to brew. Simple approach. Nothing too crazy. Don't have to get all scaly. Don't bring a lot of stuff. I mean, honestly, you don't have to bring anything with you. Bring the AeroPress. Bring some filters. Bring your spoon. Your cap. Pre-ground coffee. And that's really it. All you need to do is boil water. And you don't have to even bring all the stuff I want. If you've got already other ways of boiling water, use that, right? And if you have a lot of time, you can use it to make cold brew. Just let it steep for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, maybe. Wow. Maybe less. It all depends on your situation. All right. So, but it is kind of hot, so I'm gonna let it cool down. Next time, can we taste the pure undiluted coffee next time before you add it? Sure, next time we will. Of course, it's going to be a lot more intense, right? Of course, a lot more intense. This is actually, like, this is already good strength. Like, this is a nice strength of coffee. I think the other, well, not to say the other will be too much, but it'll just be a different level of intensity. Oh yeah. That's quite nice. Actually, George was making, we were all out to dinner on Saturday night, and George made the dessert, this almond tart, and man, that would have been awesome with this. I kind of wish I had taken a piece home with me, but I was so bloated. I was so full. We had an amazing epic meal. Tom brought some Alaskan salmon, some line-caught sockeye from Alaska, cooked it up. Andrew did all the vegetables and the vegan asparagus soup. And George brought the dessert. Fabulous, just fabulous time. But I would have liked that. I would like a slice of that tart right now with this would be sublime. Naomi says, 32 grams is quite a bit. I really only do 15 grams, 1:16 ratio, but out in the woods, I bag up 15 grams of beans in my tiny snack Ziploc and go from there. I have small hand, so here's the thing. So like, and that's the key. You can use whatever recipe you want. The key here is not necessarily to use the 36 grams, but just for us to figure out, okay, so how much coffee will this scooper hold, right? And you could of course check this at home on your scales to see how much, of course, depending on the type of grind that you're using, it will fill up or fill down by weight the scoop more than others, right? So ultimately, if you only used whole bean and you scooped it, you would get less by weight than if you had it espresso grind, because you could fit so much more into it. This is why in baking, we don't really want to use volumetric based doses, measurements. We want to use weight based measurement because those are more exacting, more absolute. And that's true with coffee, but the way that I look at it is that there are times when, compromise is perfectly acceptable, perfectly needed, and this is one of those times. So for the grind setting, we're using it at 4. And then for the recipe they're using, we're just looking to see how much coffee will this hold. And we're not necessarily, if you want to do the whole thing, like you manage, scoop one, weigh it, scoop it again, weigh it, and then, average it out over 60 different scoops or however many in your sample size you want. You certainly can do that. There's nothing I'm saying not to do that. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. But I think that for me, it's just like, okay, one scoop just tells us how much we should relatively expect in here. And that's good enough. That's good enough for me. I'm like, okay, that's good. We'll use 3. And turns out we're within 4 grams of my ideal dosing for this recipe. Perfect. What else do I want? So that's really it. So it's just a simple way to make it out there. And if you want to put your beans in a bag and then grind it by hand in the serenity of the woods while it's all quiet and the bears are hibernating. That's what I don't like about summertime. You have to worry about bears and other creatures and bugs and insects and mosquitoes and all this. And then it's hot and humid. I'm sorry, but I don't really enjoy summer camping because you know what? It gets hot, it gets humid, it's sticky. I can only get so naked, right? That's it. You get naked, that's it. That you just don't have anything else to do. You're just lying there in your tent. You're like, oh my God, this is the worst feeling in the world. Or in the wintertime, you can put on more. If you get cold, you put more layers on, right? You can always add. You can't subtract. It's terrible. It's terrible. For me, it's not. So, but if you want to be out there in the woods, I can just see you out there in the woods, Naomi, just sitting there, enjoying life. Beautiful. It's beautiful too. But I'd also not be camping. Glamping. My friend had a really great glamping setup, but his neighbors complained, and they made the EPA come and take it down. It was terrible. It was sad. Yeah, I do hate all hand grinders. I do. It's true. Oh, I've had a lot of them. I just don't. It's not the quality of the hand grinders that I don't like. It's nothing about. It's just the action of hand grinding that I just don't like. Right? There was a time in my life when I was the FNG and I was the guy that had to do all the grinding, and I was like, I never want to do this again. This is when I'm the master. I have no problem making my Padawan learners do that, but I will I'm of the generation that still is okay with inflicting the pain that was inflicted upon us, upon the new generation. I'm okay with that, but I never want to go back to that. It's like, oh, no. Anton says, just do it by feel. Tends to be, yeah. I think do it by feel is a great way to go. And I think that the do it by feel though also comes from after you've been doing it for a while, right? So all of you guys that are out there that you're making coffee at home, after you've been doing it for a while, you already feel it. You can. I know that all of you can tell. You're like, okay, especially when you're really into it, you're like, okay, I think I'm a little bit off. And you probably are, because you know what? You're used to it. You already worked all that out. You've got the muscle memory, you've got the experience, you've got the practice, you've got the whole knowledge base between the taste and over the time that you've been drinking your own coffees, whether you realize it or not, you're actually developing your sensory perception of your own coffees. You're knowing when you like it, when you don't like it, when it's off. You may not necessarily be able to consciously describe it at the time, but you know. And I believe this. You do know when that's happening. And so over time, when I talk about feeling what we're doing, the feeling of what we're doing is not necessarily because I'm some sort of expert, but it's more just because I have more experience doing it. I just have the experience doing it. Not even more experience, but just enough experience to get a feel for it. And that's why I think that these kind of approaches are really good to use, especially when you're not necessarily in the most optimal situation. And I would say the optimal situation would be what you have at home. You have your own home setup, you've got all your equipment, you've got everything in its perfect place that you want to work it in, and you know where it is. You just know how to flow in your space. When you're out somewhere else, it's going to be different, right? So you just kind of, then you have more of a feel for it. You just kind of have to feel your way through it. And George says, trust your own ability to guesstimate is a good thing, but it requires, yeah, exactly. Anton says, I enjoy summer because it's brighter. That's it. Yeah, I get you. I get it. And coffee looks nice when the lighting is good. Cheers to that. Oh, DJ, what's going on, man? How are you? DJ Paul says, I usually take a tiny scale on the road, but I've been leaning more towards feel these days. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like it, and if Impulse does do a lot of traveling for his day job and whatnot, but like, especially depending where I'm going, if I'm going to Japan, to Tokyo or something like that, I don't really even think about bringing anything brewing at all, because I know that I'm going to be going out and trying the different coffee shops. So I don't really worry about it. But I definitely like to travel as light as I can. So I will eschew as much as I possibly can, scales, grinders, everything. Because I think that if you're really stuck, you can make reasonably good coffee just by your own guesstimation. And even if you have a small, like Kalita tall, like pour over, hotel rooms usually have some kind of water heater, so you can use that to heat your water if you're really in desperate need. So that's just how I look at it. That's all. Naomi says, I've been really enjoying the Agent 99. Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you like it in my lattes. But today I tried it with the AeroPress and poured it over ice. And of course, added my peppermint mocha. Well, as long as you enjoyed it, that's the most important thing. And here's the thing. So don't get me wrong. Like, we make that coffee and we served it at our shops, but also when a guest would come in and they would like vanilla latte or something, we're happy to make that for them. Happy to make it, no problem. And sometimes we would have other kinds of flavors. I don't remember what we would have. I would have to look at our previous menus. But yeah, as long as you're enjoying it, that is the true, like, that's where I get the joy from. Like, if people enjoy the coffees that we're presenting, that's really the key. That's really for me. It's like, okay, good. And Impulse says that results are minimally different and gets me. Yeah. And I think that if you're 90% there, or even if you're 80% there, that's great, right? Because what's the alternative? The alternative is to go to unknown quantities of coffee shops and risk getting something really, really difficult. Or maybe really, really difficult is the only option available to you. So 80, even 87, even 70%, that's good. That's good. That's better. That's better in the curve. Please sell the cabinet. We will, most certainly. We will. So once we get it on, got a lot of work to do still. It's taken a little bit longer than I was expecting this time around, but yeah. So any other thoughts on coffee that you guys might have, questions you might be interested in? Because I've kind of gone through the whole AeroPress recipe thing and I'm kind of like, well, okay, that's good. I mean, I don't know what else you might need to keep in a kit. Like, you couldn't take the stove with you with the isobutane canister, like if you're traveling, by plane, because I think the TSA and airlines tend to frown if you bring these on board an aircraft, whether or not they're in hand carry or in your check-in. I think this is verboten. Impulse says, I just need my morning ritual, no matter where I am in the world. I know I'm going to hit the streets, but having coffee in bed at the hotel, I understand. I totally understand. And especially if like in Tokyo, right? The one thing that I literally hate, and I think this is true in a lot of Asia. Like in the Philippines, it's like this. I don't know if it's so much so in Bangkok, or to a lesser extent in Bangkok. But what I find is that it's kind of, it's kind of difficult to go out for breakfast for like morning coffee in some places. It's like not too many of the really nice specialty places are open in the morning. Like you can go to Ginza Renoir, right? But that's kind of it. Or some other places that maybe not be so great. But like, and like Korea, I couldn't find anything open when for breakfast, even just to eat breakfast. I was like, there's nothing open around here. What is going on? But yeah, so it's just different. It's just a different experience, just a different way that they interact with coffee. Philippines, I think some of the cafes are open earlier, but I think a lot of them open at 10 a.m. Like, oh, yeah, 7-Elevens, and because in the Philippines, a lot of people will eat the ritual there is to have 3-in-1 coffee, the instant packets of coffee that have sugar and cream already in it. Hence the name 3-in-1. They will have that at home and then eventually get coffee somewhere else later in the day. Because I remember when they were like, my friends who run cafes are like, yeah, nobody comes in that early. It's like, oh, interesting. I think I would like that. Naomi says, I'm pretty desperate at 5 a.m., so I definitely bring something. Oh yeah, okay, I get it. That I get. Usually commandeer if I'm at a hotel. Oh, nice. Gosh, you've got a whole spread of stuff. That's excellent. And the Impulse says, I've also been using the fellow Prismo attachment, so I don't have to do the invert. Okay, yeah, that makes it a lot simpler. And George says, that's enough for today, so save your lumber before. And not many places are open early, especially in Tokyo, for sure. Gosh, so like my favorite place, Lombre doesn't open until 11. So, all right then, I guess that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Glad to see all of you. And back again tomorrow with another episode of the Coffee Q&A, 10 a.m. Eastern. So hope you have a wonderful day out there. And if you're in my part of the world, hope it's not too rainy for you. And I do have to go rescue the wood. So hope you have a wonderful day, and see you next time. Mom, see you next time, man.